Hi, we're really glad you found us and welcome to your quickie for the day. Insurance carriers quietly back away from covering AI outputs. This is by Grant Gross, the senior writer at CIO. So many insurers have begun to exempt AI workloads from cybersecurity and errors and emissions coverage, saying their outputs are too unpredictable to write policies around. Several major insurance carriers have begun to back away from providing cybersecurity and other insurance to companies using AI to run internal processes, insiders say. Sound like a newsreader. While there's no standard response to customer use of AI in the insurance market, many carriers are now quietly declining to write policies for claims related to AI-generated outputs in cybersecurity and errors and omissions (E&O) coverage. These observers say, that's so bad, sorry. Other insurance carriers are jacking up prices to cover AI-related claims, they say. Dozens of insurance carriers appear to be rethinking coverage for mistakes related to AI, says Connor Deeks, CEO of CodeStrap, an AI development and consulting firm that works with insurance firms. Many insurance companies aren't comfortable with covering AI outputs because they can't track the reasoning path the AI took to come up with a result, he says. That's playing out downstream, with insurance companies basically carving out coverage, whether that's across cybersecurity or E&O, he says. All of these vibe-coded solutions and these AI systems that people have constructed have inherent risk baked into the cake now, and you can't actually see the full process. So important words there, vibe coding and something that's baked in. So it's not always obviously with a cake, it's just something is baked into policy or something. So that's kind of interesting that they expanded on that. Anyway, so the insurance carrier I'm not on it today. The insurance carrier concerns about AI workloads first surfaced in November 2025 when Financial Times reported that three major carriers, AIG, Great American, and WR Berkeley, is it Barclay? I'm not sure. I think it's probably I don't know. In England, I think it would be Barclay. In America, I think it might be Berkeley. Anyway, so tomato. So whoever it was filed requests with US regulators to offer insurance policies that exclude liabilities tied to AI tools such as chatbots and agents. At the time, those requests appeared to be preemptive moves to be allowed to exclude AI mistakes sometime in the future. But now, many carriers seem to be moving forward with plans to exclude AI mistakes from policies, Deeks says. Several carriers he's been in contact with are moving to limit or end coverage for AI-related business disruptions and liabilities, he adds. The irony is that many insurance carriers are embracing AI for their own internal purposes. Deeks' company has a vested interest in AI insurance company. CodeStrap markets its AI coding platform as traceable and therefore insurable, but other industry insiders have also seen similar carrier decisions. Carriers find exclusions. It's still unclear how many carriers will refuse to insure AI workloads, but several carriers are now writing insurance policies that exempt coverage for AI-related business chaos, says Jason Bishara, financial practice leader at global carrier NSI Insurance Group. The risk appetite is changing among the carriers, and it's always constantly evolving, he says. With regard to AI, there are carriers that are removing it from their risk appetite and declining to quote it altogether. While some carriers have declined to cover AI outputs, others are building in rate hikes to cover the increased risk, Bashara says. While he doesn't have numbers on the extent of the rate hikes, they are significant, he adds. Every business has insurance, and every business now is using AI to some extent, he adds. Are you seeing those liabilities and exclusions within these policies and an aversion to it from the carriers? Question? The answer is yes. Carriers are also treating AI vendors differently than AI users, he says. In many cases, carriers are declining to cover AI vendors altogether, while they carve out exceptions in policies, against covering AI at companies using the technology. If you're an AI-related company, or specifically an AI company, there's a good chance that you'll get a declination at this point, he adds. Not sure what that means, declination. If somebody declines to do something or say something, so they are refusing to do it, I'm not sure about that conjugation. I don't know. Anyway, so onwards. In recent months, many carriers have been asking detailed questions about how customers are using AI to better understand the risk of ensuring potential mishaps, he says. Ultimately, this increased scrutiny will make it more difficult for companies to buy insurance for AI workloads. For everybody leveraging AI now, you're seeing questions like, what are your AI policies? What are your procedures? How are you leveraging AI within your business, Bishara adds. We're getting a lot of questions from the underwriters on how do you leverage AI within your business. So, maybe here comes the question, here comes the answer. Maybe not. Coverage influx. Phil Korecki, CTO of the insurance sector, for the insurance sector at managed service provider Ensono, also sees some carriers backing away from covering AI outputs, although he's not sure whether it's a major trend. Insurance carriers continuously experiment how to provide coverage, he notes. Carriers have tried to separate tightly governed AI deployments from more experimental projects when determining whether to provide coverage, he says. You've got this bifurcation of AI, the governed, generative, and autonomous pieces, he says. It's no longer, are you using AI? It's asking, are you using governed AI? Are you governing it? How are you keeping it safe and secure? Carriers have been trying to determine whether covering AI workloads can be profitable for them, Korecki adds. Governed AI tools operating in a bounded decision-making process will be more insurable, while experimental AI systems with no monitoring and no easy rollback will be difficult to cover, he notes. There's a positioning versus a pullback, and that's very common to the industry. And they will at times open up coverage just to see if it's this type of insurance they will sell, he says. They will assess the results and what needs to change so that they can decide whether to re-enter the marketplace or re-enter this marketplace or abandon it completely. In some cases, whether an AI system is insurable may come down to circumstances at individual insurance customers. Did I say that? Sorry, I don't know if I said that properly. In some cases, whether an AI system is insurable may come down to circumstances at individual insurance customers. Carriers in general don't want to go out of the business of providing insurance, Korecki says. What they're working for right now is, how do I make this profitable, and is this sector insurable, he says. They make those decisions on every application regardless, but now, depending upon what they're being asked to insure, the questions will follow. What are you using AI for? How are you governing it? What risks does that introduce? It makes sense that some carriers have begun to question whether to cover AI outputs, given the current level of unreliability of most AI systems, says Dorian Smiley, CTO at CodeStrap. The math says, or English, the maths says that these models should be deterministic, like given the same input, you should get the same output, he says. But you can get very different output from the same input, and they can't know if the answer that they're giving you is actually correct. In most cases, AI models lack inductive reason and can't review their own work. But many organizations are talking about deploying hundreds of autonomous agents and treating them like digital employees, he notes. The idea that these agents are going to become employees, autonomous people working within your organization, is insane. You would never hire a person that can't learn new information, can't reliably retrieve information, or check their own work. NSI's Bishara has advice for IT and business leaders looking for insurance coverage of their AI workloads. Be honest about how they're using AI. If they try to hide their AI risks, They risk having my voice. They risk having their claims rejected when something goes wrong, he says. If you don't fully disclose these things appropriately in the way in which you're functioning and operating, it could be utilized as an excuse to deny a claim at a later date, he says. You don't want a carrier to come back and say, we didn't underwrite that to that risk. We asked these questions and you didn't disclose it. And that is it. Maybe we should have a little bit. Shall I read the bio of the writer, Grant Gross, senior writer? He's a senior writer at CIO, long-time IT journalist who has focused on AI, enterprise technology, and tech policy. He has previously worked as Washington, D.C. correspondent and later senior editor at IDG News Service. Earlier in his career, he was managing editor at Linux.com. Oh, that's very interesting. That's relevant and important. And news editor at tech career site techies.com. As a tech policy expert, he has appeared on C-SPAN and the giant NTN24 Spanish language cable news network. In the distant past, he worked as a reporter and editor at newspapers in Minnesota and the Dakotas. A finalist for Best Range of Work by a single author for both the Eddie Awards and the Neil Awards. Grant was recently recognized with an ASBPE Regional Silver Award for his article, Agentic AI, Decisive Operational AI Arrives in Business. And then you can have more of a look at what he's doing. Looks really good, because I got this tip to read this from a tech-savvy friend.